Welcome everyone, this is Richard Humes, author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons, chronic Lyme, and other skin parasites, welcoming you to the Morgellons conference call of the week, October 17th, 2021. Okay, today's subject is a big one, disinfection. Is it important? What do you do when you disinfect? Why do you need to disinfect? If you read Dr. Saverly's book, Morgellons, The Legitimization of a Disease, she states in it that disinfection is not necessary, and anybody trying to convince you it is a scam artist. Well, okay, I guess I'm a scam artist. I guess we're all scammers here, because I don't know how you can get your life back and in an environment that is contaminated. There is a possibility, and it was, Dr. Saverly does medical treatment using very powerful antibiotics, and I've been on those antibiotics, and it seems that perhaps when you are on those antibiotics, then perhaps you are kind of impervious to things. But hey, antibiotics, the AMA and the FDA requires me to inform you that before you start my diet, which is the crux of this program, without that diet, we discussed it last week and the importance of it, we would not be here. We wouldn't even talk about disinfecting. I'd be dead, okay? So the diet is important. But before you start the diet or accept any of my recommendations, if you complete the questionnaire that we have, it takes about maybe 5 or 10 minutes to complete it. I can provide you detailed recommendations. So before you start the diet or accept any of those recommendations, the FDA says you're to discuss them with your medical doctor to make sure they do not interfere with any health problems that you're experiencing. The AMA requires us to inform you that we're not doctors, we're not trained medically. Robin, me, Ethel, Megan, Nick, and Anna, and Chris, we're not doctors, and we are not trained to diagnose, so we are not here to diagnose you. We had a question before the program started rolling, and somebody was talking about where to get a diagnosis, and hopefully we'll get to talk about that a little bit later on. So we're not here to diagnose you. We're not here to treat you. We don't have any treatments, and we don't make any cures. We don't do any cures, okay? And we're not here to mitigate any disease or skin disease. What we're here for is to educate you how to utilize the King diet. Now, I don't know how it works. It's very precise. I don't know why it works. You can compare it to other healthy diets, but no other diet is close to it, and you can't use any other diet but this to get the results. So the diet, we're here to educate you how to use it, how people make mistakes, how to get it to kick in, because as we talked about last week, just being on the diet, that's just, okay, that's nice, that's wonderful, it's easy to make mistakes, but you can be perfect on that diet and it still may not kick in. When it kicks in, hey, wow, it's a different world. Many people believe or claim that they're cured. It's that great. You get to sleep. You're free of itching and biting and all that stuff. I don't know why it works. Don't know how it works. But all I know is when you get it to kick in, the results are well worth it. And it's not a cure. So we're not claiming it is. But it makes life a bit different. So we're here to educate you on how to get the diet to work for you. We're here to educate you how to clean them out of your skin using the bathing protocols and cleaning protocols, and how to get them out of your environment. So the bottom line is, in the very first email you ever get from me, it basically says, welcome, you are a walking, talking, breeding machine of skin parasites. And that is true. Until you get on the diet, you are a walking, talking, breeding machine. And so you didn't start the program on the diet. You had already gotten them all over your house, all over your automobile, all over your workspace at work. They're everywhere. So you've already passed them off. And guess what? they can come back to you, to haunt you, to reinfect you. So you could be on the diet, you could be cleaning your skin, and if they're in your environment, then they could be reinfecting you. So the fourth thing, and we talked about this many times, is that we can do is educate you in how to build health and immune functioning through targeted supplements. But we've had other programs about that, and they're all recorded on YouTube. And when you get the email, you scroll down to the bottom, and you see all the programs that are recorded, and you get a list of the subjects that were discussed and the questions that were answered, so you can go there for reference. So, disinfecting. Now, cleaning the environment. Well, first of all, the infecting organisms can be several. Morgellons itself, the filaments and fibers. Now, here again, I just want to point out the differences, okay? The Morgellons people with the Holman Foundation and the Lyme literate doctors that work with them that treat Morgellons claim that Morgellons is not contagious or reinfectious. Well, okay. Now, I guess I'm supposed to call the hundreds of people that have emailed me to inform me that it is liars. Well, I don't choose to do that. I don't want to invalidate anybody's experience. So we're not going to go there. But for the most part, those filaments and fibers can be reinfectious is what we find on this side of the universe, okay? We have a side of the universe over here, and there's a side of the universe over there that says they're not infectious or contagious. And sometimes they split hairs between infectious and contagious. I don't know. We talked about that too in previous sessions. So that's one thing. The organism itself, the filaments and fibers, potentially. Now, what sometimes brings the organism to us are mites. I don't know, Britannica says there are 40,000 different species of mites, but basically we generally are dealing with bird mites, rat mites, no-see-ums, that kind of mites. And some of them are, the interesting thing is that people think bird mites fly. Well, bird mites don't fly, but there are mites that do fly and can contaminate you and reinfect you and burrow into your skin and live in your skin. And of course, if you talk to the specialists, the experts, the people who went to school 55 years and have all kinds of degrees, they'll tell you that the only kind of mite that can live in your skin is probably scabies. All right? I don't know why they think that one can, but all these others can't. No, that just doesn't track with me, okay? But our experience is that these mites can burrow into your skin and live there, all right? And they can carry the Morgellons organisms into your body, all right? Now, another is Columbella. It's not a mite. It has its own classification, but typically called Springtails. And there's, in the blog post, if you go back maybe a year or so, there are several posts about Columbella that we get to know about Springtails. And many of these experts who've had their 55 years of education will tell you that Columbella can't bite you because they don't have the mouth parts. They don't have mouth parts. Well, again, in those 55 years, they missed a fact. Columbella, Springtails, snow fleas, another name that they go by, have retractable mouth parts. Retractable mouth parts. Believe me, they can bite you. Now, whether or not they carry Morgellons or not, I don't really know. I know from analyzing several thousand questionnaires by now that it seems that basically, about 5 years ago, it was about 50-50. 50% of the questionnaires had both Columbella and Morgellons. Today, it's around 90%. 90% today. So, and I don't know what's happened to bring those percentages up to where they are. I have no idea. But it's basically these organisms that we're dealing with. There's also another one, a skin disease. It's called, well, this one is a recognized disease, okay? First, now, doctors don't recognize Morgellons except being in your mind and will diagnose you as delusional. And if you get a friendly doctor, he might give you a diagnosis of some kind of folliculitis, okay? And at least you won't be called nuts. Mites, like I said, the only one is scabies. They'll, other mites, forget it. You're delusional. Columbella, Springtails, they don't even know about that. It doesn't even track with them. They don't know what Springtails are. They have no idea. And you can even talk to the okay, well, you know what I'm trying to say. Sometimes my mouth will move and the word doesn't come out. But of various state organizations, and they'll tell you that these things don't exist that affect man. Oh yeah, they might get on you, but you take a shower and you wash them off, and that's it. That's basically it. So these are the organisms, and the last organism is Strongyloides cervicalis. Now that one has a life cycle. It's published on the CDC. It has, it can be, 10 years ago you had to send your sample to a lab in Tucker, Georgia, which is no longer in business, but today Quest will handle the samples, and you can get a diagnosis from your blood as to whether or not you have it. It's not indigenous to this area, supposedly, but it does show up, and I would say probably in the questionnaires that I analyze or look at, it pops up about maybe 15% of the time out of all questionnaires. So these are the organisms that we are here to deal with. Now, whether or not Strongyloides can contaminate the environment and reinfect you, I don't really know, but I know skin contact with an infected person will get you infected. I know that much about it. So we're going to look at disinfecting and getting these organisms out of your environment so that you don't get reinfected. Now, number one is that Morgellons doesn't respond to any insecticides. So if you are only dealing with Morgellons and you do not have mites and you do not have Columbella or Springtails, using any kind of insecticide is basically a waste of time. It's not going to work. But why do we get into using insecticides? Well, mites respond to insecticides, and mites are a carrier, and Columbella, Springtails will respond to insecticides, and they too perhaps are a carrier of Morgellons. That I'm not assured of, but it's a possibility. So now, disinfecting means getting them out of your environment. The first thing to decide is whether or not your house is sick or you made your house or apartment sick, okay? So that's important. 10 years ago I said it wouldn't matter if you moved because no matter where you moved, you carry them with you, which is true. But nevertheless, if your house is sick, you better move. Now, what makes a sick house? Robin, can you tell us what makes a sick house?
I guess if you move into a house that already has the bugs and it's in the walls and the floors and the attic and you can't get it out, that
backed up sewer systems, it has, houses,
mold,
a sick house with a lot of mold issues and backed up sewers and a lot of leaky pipes and damp, crawl space, that's a sick house. Want to get the hell out of there, all right? You don't want to stay there. You don't want to live there. Maybe other people can live there who are not susceptible. That's another thing. I claim Morgellons, Springtails, and mites are infectious and contagious. Now, the other universe says Morgellons is not contagious, maybe infectious perhaps, but not contagious, all right? So you want to get this stuff, these organisms, So you start your home and you might have billions of organisms. The idea is to get it down to 1 and down to 0. So you go to work and you start disinfecting. Now, chapter 3 of my book is about 55 pages long of how to disinfect and clean your home and get them out of your environment, and also cleaning your skin. So what worked for me, and I was lucky, I was truly lucky, is I simply used ammonia spray. You know, my first attempt was to buy ladybugs and release them in the house. And after 2 days, they were all gone. But that might have been simply because dumb old me spread diatomaceous earth around too. So that's how shaky I was way back then. You know? So ammonia. Okay, so full strength ammonia. It used to be only third strength for me. I guess I had a weak. There was published. There's about 6,000 species of springtails, and there are about 19 that have an affinity to man, and I guess some of them are a little more resistant and more difficult to deal with, and I was fortunate in that the ones that I was dealing with was less resistant and were really wiped out and destroyed by ammonia, spraying ammonia. So I would spray my bed sheets, I'd spray the mattress cover. I didn't have to put on a plastic one, as some people may have to do. I would spray that. I would put on the sheet. I would spray that. I'd put on the cover. I would spray that. I'd put on the top cover. Of course, in the beginning, I laundered them every day, but this got to be a routine. When you have skin parasites in your life, you got to learn to think like them, and you have to learn how to have a second job. And people say, but I don't have time. Well, the skin parasites don't care. You know, if you're not going to deal with them and take the time to deal with them, they're going to get serious, and you might not have a job to pay the mortgage. So, and there are many people who have become destitute and have gone from six-figure careers to living in an automobile. So these things are not to be taken lightly. There are people who have committed suicide. We had a writer who lived in South Africa. She was a wonderful person. She did great research, but we couldn't get our products through to her through the stupid government, and she ended up committing suicide. I mean, so it's serious. It's serious. And the goal is to get them out of your environment. So many people say, well, ammonia, I'm kind of allergic to it, you know, and it is dangerous. It is a neurotoxin. You don't want to be putting it on your skin. Many people have gotten that desperate that they have put it on their skin. No, it's a neurotoxin. It will kill you in time with constant exposure, or you'll go back at batty. I don't know. You know, so you don't want to. So if you are sensitive to it, there is another substance called hypochlorous acid. I don't have much experience in this, but you can look into it, and you can, if you're sensitive to ammonia, you can look into the hypochlorous acid, learn how to use it, and you can become our environmental expert on how to use hypochlorous acid. All right, so it is not toxic like ammonia is. But whatever you're doing, particularly like I said, 90% of us have calumbula, springtails. That means these organisms jump off our body about 8 to 10 inches. So if you're sitting at a table, just look down to your legs and your feet and look wherever 8 to 10 inches are. Now, if you're sitting at a table, your knees are less than probably 2 inches from the bottom of that tabletop. All right? So, and the chair legs and the chair that you're sitting on and the table itself and the tablecloth. So all this needs to be sprayed when you get up. And it needs to be sprayed 20 minutes before you sit down. It's the fumes that kill them, that kill the organisms. So your couch, it has to be treated. It has to be sprayed before you sit down 20 minutes. When you get up, you spray it. Your bed, everything, your bathroom, around the toilet, around the foot recess at the kitchen counter, at the counter. that has to be sprayed. And sometimes it gets to the point where you may be so infested they're on your soles of your feet and you're walking them through the house. So the floors need to be cleaned and disinfected. The soles of your shoes need to be disinfected. Your clothing, of course, and sometimes it gets complicated, and you use certain protocols that we've talked about in doing laundry. So all this is very important. Your automobile, the seat belt needs to be disinfected. You need to find out where the cabin filter is that filters the air that's circulated in your automobile. You need to have that replaced. You need to disinfect that. You need to disinfect everything. So for me, simple spray bottle. You buy this bottle at the dollar store for $1, and that was all that was necessary. And life is simple. You could also use diatomaceous earth, spreading it around to help matters. You can do both. I used to, before I put my clothing on, I would invert the clothing. I'd dust it with diatomaceous earth, and later on I just depended on ammonia, and I would turn the clothing right side out before I put it on, and let the fumes there for about 20 minutes before I put it on. So you got to think ahead. Your sink and your bathroom sink, you need to pour ammonia down every time after you use it. You need to disinfect those two, because they love to live in wet spaces and spaces of that nature. Now, that is step number 1. Level number 1. Let's look at levels number 1. As I said, there are 19 varieties of springtails that have an affinity to us. And by the way, ammonia will also take care of Morgellons. So it will handle Morgellons as well as springtails, as well as mites, and I presume hypochlorous acid will do so as well. So now sometimes we step up the game. So if you go to our online store, you'll see other disinfectants in there. You'll see clean 'em up zymes. So people have heard of what is that? Clean green. So we have clean 'em up zymes that are a bit more powerful and less costly than clean green. So you can spray the enzymes in. You can actually use the enzymes in your bath as well, but not at the same time you use Nature's Gift, because Nature's Gift will destroy the enzymes, and you never want to mix the Nature's Gift and the enzymes together. All right. So then we have a botanical disinfectant called, what is that disinfectant? It's thyme-based, and it's organic, and you can spray it anywhere. You can, you can spray your food stuff with it. You can spray your kitchen, utensils, everything. It's organic, thyme. So, and it does a good job on getting rid of organisms as well. Now, on the chemical end, you can get into things like Metaclean. That's another disinfectant. It's a chemical, but you don't want to spray around your kitchen area or where your food stuff is. It's toxic. It's poisonous. There's for many years, it was called the triple pesticide that's in the book, taking 3 ingredients and putting them together. It was Onslaught, it was Exponent, and IGR, and you mix them together no more than you can use in 24 hours, and you spray. That's a chemical disinfectant. And more recently, Robin added 2 ingredients to that to make it the sink pesticide. What are the 2 ingredients you added, Robin?
Sayonara, which kills springtails.
9.7%.
And permethrin, 36.9%, I think it is. Right.
So now we have the sink pesticide, thanks to Robin, which is a step up from the triple pesticide. Again, they say that these things are non-toxic, but don't expose it to fish. And hey, I just don't believe this stuff about anything. Who knows what it will do to the genetics? They say they're genetically targeted, so they won't affect humans and animals. But okay, well, I don't believe that. Ever since we got this crap about glyphosate being totally safe and that you could practically eat it, and now we have billions of dollars that they put aside for people who have acquired cancer. I don't believe that stuff anymore about stuff being genetically targeted and being totally safe. So use it with caution is what I would suggest. All right. So we step up into disinfectants and also these pesticides. So you need to step up the game as you go along if you need to. And we can step the game up a little further into ozoning. Now, ozone is a way, it produces ozone molecule, taking O2 and making it into the ozone molecule, which will destroy basically any living thing. All right, mold, fungus, bacteria, viruses, anything. Well, the mites as well. Well, the problem with ozone is that, well, it's true of all these things. If particularly most of us are dealing with mites. Again, in analyzing the questionnaire, I would say probably over 90% are dealing with mites of some kind. And we do have a free report on winning the war of the bite. It's on our website, bestmorgellonscure.com, that anybody can go to anytime. It's where all the blog posts are published as well. The updates that you get that update you with new information since the book was last published a little over a year ago. So this information is available, and the ozone, as well as these other things, need to be done 21 days straight because, as I said, well over 90% of us are dealing with some kind of mite. I know I was. Fortunately, mine was more of the friendly type of mite and didn't create a lot of hell. And many people say, well, I got these sparkly things all over my arm. Well, I know. I was there. It looked like I had a Christmas tree of some nature in my arm. And under the microscope, it was perfectly round spheres, perfectly round, shiny spheres. I surmise, and eggs of mites that were using my arm to reproduce, and the rest of my body as well. So 21 days you run the ozone generator, and the ozone generator is good for about 500 square feet. 500 square feet. All right. So if your bedroom is 12 by 12, that's 144 square feet. So you can do about 4 bedrooms if they're all one big space at a time. If you have a much larger space, well, then you might need 2 ozone generators, and you run it, put a timer on it. You run it for a half hour on, 1 hour off, a half hour on, 1 hour off, and a half hour on, and then off. Let the space air out, and then you can occupy it. You do it every day. If you got a big house, then you're going to need to do a lot of it. And again, talking about the environment, we need to look at the heating system. If you have ductwork, air conditioning, heating, all that's got to be disinfected as well. So now we step up the game another level, and that is with the electrostatic sprayer. So we have tools for just about everything. Now the electrostatic sprayer is a time saver and far more efficient than any spray bottle. Fogging, don't even think about fogging. Waste of time, waste of money. And I'll tell you why. Because you can use the electrostatic sprayer to fog as well. It's got 2 settings on it. Well, the Ryobi doesn't, but the very expensive Victory sprayer that we have has 2 settings, on and off. And when you turn it off, it operates as a fogger. When you turn on the electrostatic sprayer, it puts a charge on every particle. And somebody asked me the other day, can I use alcohol in my electrostatic sprayer? Well, remember, electrostatic shocks and alcohol mean fire. So I wouldn't recommend anything in the electrostatic sprayer that is flammable. Definitely not. All right, so it puts a positive charge on every particle coming out. of that electrostatic sprayer in like a fog. Everything in the environment, your nose, your glasses, your table, the food you eat, everything is negatively charged. So as soon as this fog comes out, it latches on. There's no choice. It's like magnets, positive and negative. So if you take the electrostatic sprayer and you put it on the fog setting and you spray a doorknob, it's going to coat the front of that doorknob. All right? Great. But not the back of that doorknob. If you put it on the electrostatic charge and spray that doorknob, it covers the front and the back. It just wraps around and covers everything. It's attracted to the negative charge. That's what makes the electrostatic sprayer so powerful. I often share the experience that it took me 3 months to get the organisms out of my recliner, the footrest. I just couldn't get them out. Every time I'd sit there, within a few minutes, they'd be chasing me away. And then, I sprayed the top of it. I sprayed the bottom of the footrest. But I didn't think to spray the ends, the tuft of the fabric. And that's where they were. The electrostatic sprayer, that's a no-brainer. You don't have to think of where to spray. You just spray. You spray somebody said, how about if I spray my electronics? Will it destroy my electronics? Well, if you hold the electrostatic sprayer right over your laptop for a second, you're probably right. It'll destroy it. But in 1 second with the electrostatic sprayer, you should be able to cover 10 feet of area. Not just a laptop, 10 feet of area. That's how fast it is. What it might take you to spray with a hand sprayer, an hour to do your entire house will take maybe 15 minutes with the electrostatic sprayer, and it's very efficient. So that's stepping up the game. I'm not here to sell you on anything. I'm just here to share with you the different levels, the different things, the different ways that we have available or know of for you to cleanse your environment and get your life back so that you get these organisms out of your environment. Now, how long does it take? Well, it can take a few days and it could take a few months. It depends. And when you move into a new place, or you see, oftentimes we get reinfected. For instance, you get your house pretty well in great order, and then Christmas comes around, and you go upstairs, and you open up that box that hasn't been opened for a year, and Robin can share with you the Pandora of organisms may come out of that box, and within minutes you're really way back, starting at zero again. You take something out of the closet that you haven't worn in a year. I send out updates every change of season. You got one just about a week ago. Warning, we're having a change of season. We're moving from summer weather to fall weather. What does that mean? You're putting away your short sleeves and your shorts, and you're getting out your long pants and your long sleeve and your coats or your fall clothing. And, hey, were they disinfected when you put them away? Were they clear? Do you know for sure? Do you know that maybe whether or not you had a little bit of difficulty during that time and, then finally got it under control? You want to be careful, because if you don't know, you need to disinfect the clothing again, just like I assume they are infected. Take them to the dry cleaner, go through the washing cycle with disinfecting and clean them, spray them, dust them with diatomaceous earth. But the last thing you want to do is put on a garment that you're not sure is totally clear of the organisms. The last thing you want to do. Now, Robin came across another pesticide, dust, that she shared with me that she's had some success with. Do you want to share with everyone what that was?
Sure. I also want to mention that I'm fully convinced that that bed bugs, fleas, and ticks can also carry Morgellons.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, let me just say that if you go to a lot of sites about Morgellons, they will claim that the vector is the tick. But in the hundreds, well, thousands of questionnaires I've gotten, the tick only shows up maybe about 2% of the time. But yes, ticks are there, bed bugs are there. In fact, bed bugs and carpet beetles probably show up more than ticks do as the factor.
Right. So one of the things, I had known about this before because of an exterminator telling me about it, and it's delta dust. And exterminators use it for bed bugs. They shoot it into like the sockets where you plug things in and along edges. And someone had mentioned it to me recently. I had forgotten all about it, and I bought some, and it's amazing stuff. I mean, I had anthills all in my driveway moving towards my house, and I sprinkled it with the delta dust. Within 2 days, they were gone. They have not come back.
Wow, that's great. It's called Delta, D-E-L-T-A, Delta?
Delta dust.
So, like, you put it into a crevice or something, and it'll take care of that. So it would be great for putting into, you know, if your house has a problem and you've got the electrical receptacles, you can take the cover off and maybe put it in to get it into the cavities or into the walls, perhaps.
So in my house, I've been struggling with flying mites, and they've been coming in the windows. They're outside, so I sprinkled the delta dust all around the foundation of the house, and then I sprinkled it in all the windows. I opened all the windows and put it inside the windowsill, and it all stopped. I mean, there's still some in the house, but almost, 90% gone.
That's fantastic. And I'm glad you mentioned the outside, because in our long discussion, you know, we talked about inside, we talked about the car, but we didn't talk about the outside. And this is where you came up with also a great discovery a couple of years ago, the Garden Safe Fungicide 3.
That's right.
That you can spray outside. You know, you don't want to be walking around with a spray bottle.
Right, but it attaches to a hose. You can get it and just spray all around your property with it. It's wonderful, and it definitely knocks down the springtails.
And it's economical, too. I think one of those things are only about, I don't know, $20, and you hook it to your hose. And, I mean, I've done my driveways, I've done my walkways, I've done my patio, and I still got more stuff in the bottle.
Right. Right, it's really great, and it's also organic. I mean, it's for organic gardening. It's 70% neem oil. Someone just recently told me about something similar to Fungicide 3 that's 90% neem oil, but they didn't tell me what the name of it was. But the Fungicide 3 is a miticide, fungicide, and I forget what the third thing is.
It'll whack them out. Okay, that's great. It's good stuff. So that's what we highly recommend from doing on the outside. In the book, there are other chemical alternatives, long-standing chemical alternatives, but I think this one is probably more economical, far safer to handle and deal with, less toxic to humans and animals than the other pesticides that may be listed also in the book. So, Great, thanks. You have anything to add to this before we close this segment?
Well, I do want to say that there is a protocol for mites that, which I have combined with the zinc pesticide that involves flea bombing if you have a really bad infestation, which I have had, and it's been really, I combine, so every 10 days, like clockwork, you have to do it every 10 days. You spray everything, because flea bombs don't get under or behind, but anything that will kill fleas generally will kill mice, is what I have found. So So with the zinc pesticide, you mix it up in a 12-ounce, 16-ounce spray bottle, 1 ounce for all of the ingredients except for the permethrin, 3 ounces, and then you add water. You shake it really well because permethrin is thick and you want to have a fine mist. And then you spray everywhere, especially behind and under things. Set off a flea bomb in each room. Now you have to leave. Nobody living can be in the house, including pets. I have a little pet playpen for my cat, so in the summer it's really easy. We sit outside and have a wonderful day. You wait 2 hours, then you ozone for 2 hours, and I have enough ozone generators to do the whole house at once, so that's why and then you air the house out for at least a half hour with fans and open windows. And after that, for the next few days, you want a dry Swiffer, maybe using an essential oil mix with the Swiffer, because a lot of things are going to come out and they're going to be dying because it has some residual effect. And initially, they may fight back and attack you. So you want to make sure you bathe and do creams and stuff, especially the day that you are doing your exterminating. But it gets better and better and better. So I'm at the point, like, my body is pretty clear and I don't get attacked now. And I do this to my car as well. So my car I can sit in for hours and drive to gigs and not have a problem. My house I can be comfortable in it. It's not totally clear yet, but I am well on the way to getting back to where I was before I opened that
Pandora's box.
Yeah. And then, got sick with COVID, so I couldn't do anything for months. But,
just to give you a perspective, when Robin first joined our program, she came to these conference meetings all the time, and it took you about what, 3 months to get the diet to kick in, was it?
At least, yeah.
At least 3 months.
I was using the wrong kind of stevia. I was using stevia with sugars in it. I was making all kinds of mistakes on the diet. And I finally got it right, and I also went on Pimazide for 4 months.
Right.
Which helped the diet to kick in, and that way I could attack my environment without getting overwhelmed and attacked back.
Yeah, the point is that it didn't happen overnight. It took her 3 months just to get the diet to kick in. And last week we talked about the diet and how to kick in. She mentioned Pimazide. We talked about that last week as well. So the reward is there for you, but it doesn't necessarily automatically happen. Many people would probably give up rather than go through the trials and tribulations Robin went through to get the diet to work. But once she got the diet to work, then she got her life back by Christmas of 2019 and had a party with, 30 people in your home or 20-some people? Yeah.
It was wonderful, though. It was so much fun.
She was totally normal. She was totally normal, okay? And then along came the Pandora's box experience and got reinfected, and that's important. This is why I keep stressing this. Reinfection is a bitch, okay? And, and then she went through a long stint with COVID, and she's getting, it's been, a year and a half, and you're just now getting back to where you were in Christmas of 2019.
That's right. So, it's been a long time, but I had a lot of other things going on, so.
Yeah. So, well, I thank you for sharing, Robin, and I'm certainly glad that you are my co-host. I've learned a lot from you, and we have a mutual admiration thing going on.
Yeah, I love everything you do, Richard. I'm grateful to be here.